Despite his checkered past and rugged mannerisms, Jaqk had gained a friend who was a learned and benevolent hierophant. Almost as if he was talking to his battered old dingo, Jaqk spoke. "Time for us to visit old Brother Jaqk." Brother Jaqk had fallen from the favor of the Silver Crescent Order, where he had been initiated, anointed, and ordained. He had spent the last 3.5 years worshipping and practicing in solitude. Some of what he had learned before was forgotten or abandoned, but some genuinely useful practices had been formulated in his time alone. Jaqk had always stayed in touch with Brother Jaqk, even despite the fact that he resided in Jaq's least favored land of Gaul. It was not merely because Jaqk and Jaqk were such good friends. Jaqk knew that this priest was the only one willing who would be able to protect him from magic. The dingo sped from Herzog that afternoon with a full load of fuel, kicking up an obvious cloud of dust from the 6 tires. Jomi was 10,000 gold richer, and Jaqk was still 10,000 in artificially occult-generated debt. It was about 10 hours to the border. Jaqk removed a large utopium alloy turbine pipe from his flak jacket and filled the large cone with oily black tobacco. His lungs and nostrils filled with the dense blue-grey smoke. As he exhaled, the cabin was filled. Jaqk's lungs burned intensely and his throat felt red raw. In his head, tingling sensations were sweeping over him from his forehead down his neck. He coughed in a stifled, controlled way. His eyes were bloodshot to the point of being more red than white, and tears were streaming from them. His heartbeat was incredibly fast and erratic, causing an uncomfortable sensation on the left side of his ribcage. Jaqk felt slightly nauseous and unbalanced. "Now that's a good smoke," he remarked to no one in particular. He had not so much as winked when he arrived at the Ditos-Gaul border. Gaul and Ditos had enjoyed a period of tolerance for generations, so the border station was no more than a small brick structure that was manned by 2 lowly Gaul infantrymen. They halted the dingo, searched half-heartedly for contraband, and then waved him through. Another 3/4 of an hour down the poorly maintained road, Jaqk saw that on either side there were tall stands of pinkish wheat becoming apparent. Jaqk had knowledge of sloth wheat. He immediately toggled the control on the dashboard that raised the windows, sealed the cabin, and pumped freshly filtered air from the rear. He reached Brother Jaqk's dwelling and temple sometime later. "Good evening, brother," addressed Jaqk calmly, yet not completely reserved. Brother Jaqk stood up from where he had been kneeling and kissing the soil. His bald head was adorned with a silvery skullcap, and his body was embellished with the long, flowing white robes that signified his status as a high priest. However, it was blatantly obvious when he turned around that something was not right with him. Jaqk had actually witnessed this condition before. Many knew it as half-death. A powerful necromancer could sometimes develop the ability to warp a normal human being into a state that was the twilight of existence. The victims of these curses were cold-blooded, yet still semi-sentient. The old bounty hunter knew that his friend was already virtually gone. The other thing bothering him was the location of the necromancer who did this. These malevolent spellcasters usually stayed pretty close to their creations. Jaqk, with a heavy heart, pushed open the door to Jaqk's sanctuary. The interior was, as he remembered it, filled with ancient relics and scriptures, a testament to Jaqk's dedication to his faith. He moved cautiously, every shadow a potential threat. The room was chilly, and the air seemed to buzz with an eerie energy. Jaqk felt a chill run down his spine, not just from the cold, but from the palpable sense of dread that filled the room. As he ventured deeper into the dwelling, he noticed a strange glow emanating from a hidden chamber below. He descended the staircase, his weapons at the ready, his senses on high alert. The glow grew brighter as he got closer, and he could hear a low, ominous hum. As he stepped into the chamber, he saw a massive, pulsating crystal suspended in the air. The crystal was radiating an otherworldly energy, and Jaqk could feel it tugging at his very soul. He realized with a jolt of fear that this was a necromantic conduit, a tool used by necromancers to channel dark energies. He knew then that he had found the lair of the necromancer who had transformed Brother Jaqk. Steeling himself, Jaqk prepared for the battle that was to come.